Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today, we're going to do a quick reaction to Fierce Fat Femme. I haven't seen her post anything in a long time. This is super fresh. It's literally 2 hours ago, so I'm like on it. On it. But I'm going to go ahead and react to it because today's video is going to be kind of quick. I do have something planned for Thanksgiving, but it's more... it's kind of more activistic and serious, and so I'm not expecting it to get like tons of views anyways or whatever, but it is special on Thursday, so I'm going to do the podcast tomorrow, but today's video is quick. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, this comment on Fierce Fat Femme's thing says, I don't want a lazy partner. Why would I want to be with someone who can't take care of their body and their own needs? It's not just looks, it's mindset. So I'm going to definitely listen to what she has to say. What I have to say to this comment is that that's very true. Super, super, super true. I think that we need to normalize, people, like, remember when people used to get to know somebody before they dated them, So I think we kind of need to get back to that a little bit, just a touch. Because I feel like everything is it's like only image based, which again, while I do think image matters and I do think looks matter, I'm never going to be one of those people that's like, looks don't matter. I don't believe that. I would never say it. I've said it millions of times. I would never, even if I was straight, I would never go on Love is Blind. I don't think love is blind. They'd be like, is love blind? I'd be like, no, it's not. I don't believe in that, period. That being said, though, I think what lies beneath the personality, values, a lot of that stuff is also equally important. And I think it's really a big thing, their mindset on fitness and health. It's huge. Mindset can determine more of the future than anything else. If somebody is currently fat and they have a healthy mindset, they probably won't be in the future. If someone isn't fat and they don't have a healthy mindset, they might gain weight in the future. You have to look at the mindset. And I understand not everybody would want to be with somebody who's fat or whatever, but it's going to be such a case-by-case basis, and it's so subjective, and it's so based upon like where you're at, where they're at, and all these different things. I did watch a little bit of the fit versus like fit men versus fit women, whatever, Jubilee, just a little bit. I'm really considering doing Jubilee for my members, but I probably will. I don't know if I can do it this year, but probably in the future, probably January. But anyways, January Jubilee. Oh my gosh. I have a lot of stuff planned for January. Anyways, so basically what I was trying to say is they were talking about like, is a fat person unattractive? And they got into a little bit of an issue where they're like, it's kind of a subjective word. It's hard to tell. And they just are like, no, flat out. And to me, it's like, it really is person to person. It's person to person, and it's that person's opinion at that point in time. And I think we have to realize how we have to realize how black and white that way of thinking is, and we have to understand that it's a lot more gray. Because fat is mutable, weight is mutable, it's something that can change. It's very gray. I don't think there's anything wrong with being attracted to somebody who's in shape or anything like that. I just think that it's important to consider where you're at, where the other person is at, personality, other forms of compatibility, all of it. It all matters. And at the end of the day, we have an equation that we look at and we make a decision. And fatness is just one of those things. So, and how fat somebody is. And there's so many different things. Like for me personally, I don't think I would date somebody who's morbidly obese or super morbidly obese. There's just so much with it. I know it very well, and there are mental health aspects to it. It's difficult to get out, which no shade on anybody, no shade on myself either. It's very difficult to get out too. And so I don't think I would do that. It's like I've already had to live through my own. I don't really want to live through somebody else's. And because it takes years. It's a long time. And again, no shade on anybody who takes that on or anything. I have zero judgment. I'm just speaking from my perspective here. But if somebody was like overweight, I don't know. It depends on the person, but would I prefer somebody in shape? Of course. Who wouldn't? You know what I'm saying? I do aspire to be in shape though, so it's not necessarily a hypocritical thing, but I understand like all aspects of this. I just think that there's so many factors that go into something. Like if I liked somebody and they put on some weight, I would not like them. If they got so big that it changed their entire personality, quality of life, everything, I probably would not be able to stay if they were not willing to change or not willing to get out of it. It would be awful. I don't think it's acceptable. I don't, and people get really triggered when you say that. But when I say like I'm against fat acceptance, I'm against it. Like I don't accept it. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's acceptable. So when I say it, I mean it. But I understand time. I understand mindset. I understand a lot of different things, and I don't judge people if I see a fat person, like when I see a super morbidly obese person, I don't judge them as a person. But when we're looking at dating somebody, it does matter. Because even getting out of it, it's a lot of work. I would almost suggest to just be single during that time anyways. It's kind of natural. If you're single anyways, just ride it, because that's what I did, and it probably was what was best. So anyways, it's a whole other thing. But that being said, as you recover and as you go, you do have to open up to certain things and see what happens, or see what could happen, or whatever. You just have to like open your mind, broaden your horizons and stuff as you get further and further out. I'm almost out of obesity now. I need to start looking towards the future, because it's not gonna last that much longer. Realistically, I'm probably gonna be at the latest out of obesity by February, or in February, at the earliest in December. It could happen at any time between that. So it's moving, and I have it under control and all that. So I don't know. It's tricky. It's so individual. It so depends on the person. It depends on people's decisions. Nobody's perfect. We all have baggage. You make a decision. And I just think that there's a lot of times people make these huge blanket statements, and I just don't think it's smart. I think it might have to do with some of why the dating market is so bad. And that is not just within weight, but it's within a lot of things, because people do that about a lot of stuff. And I'll always advocate, sure, looks matter, but look at the person they are too. That matters too. And if it works, it works. And I will always advocate for compatibility. If you're compatible with the person, then be with them. If you like each other, you're both very compatible, then be with them. Life is hard enough to try to be with somebody you're not compatible with. That's my opinion. That's my mindset. Take it or leave it. Take it for what it is. Take it for what it isn't. I don't care what you do. That's just my thoughts on it. So I see weight as just one piece of an overall puzzle. That was a really long tirade. But let's go ahead and listen to what Fierce Fat Femme, I forgot her name for a second, has to say. I'm sure it'll be dazzling, you guys.
It's so hard for me not to just be like listing all the things I do to like actively go against this comment that like all fat people get, which is like, well, you're lazy and you just can't take care of your body. And ultimately, I want to fight you back by telling you all the things I do.
One of the most important determinants of your physical health and longevity is being at an appropriate weight. If you do not work to do that, and I think you should work to do it healthfully, even slowly, but if you're not in that process or you're not even thinking about it, then you're not taking care of your body. Point blank, period. There's nothing to say. You're not. Again, I can bring all the nuance in the world to this conversation, but if somebody has the mindset, of course I'm taking care of my body, I don't care about losing weight, and I'm basically super morbidly obese, or at least morbidly obese, there's nowhere to go. So I would just steer clear. And I know that's harsh, but I'm going to be real with you. I would suggest not dealing with that person because they're not living in reality. And it's difficult. You're not going to necessarily wake somebody up that's that delusional. It's very delusional to think that it's okay to be that size. Like, I'm going to keep bringing that up. It's not okay. So I would actively suggest, if somebody had that mindset, I'm doing everything I can to take care of my body, and I'm not even working towards a health journey or even working towards losing weight or anything, don't be with them. I will say that. So I know that's harsh, but I'm just going to keep it real. If you're already involved with somebody and all that, I'm not necessarily talking to you, but I'm just saying, if you're not, I wouldn't go down that path. That's all.
But it doesn't matter if you hate fat people and you actively don't want to change or do any critical thinking.
In this cult, hate means critique. So, okay, I'll fix that for you, okay?
No amount of what I educate you on will help. You have to actually let it seep into your...
It goes right back at you. But I also think that if you're super invested in not doing anything about your weight, then what is somebody gonna do with you either? You know what I mean? Like, what is somebody else gonna do to change your mind? And if you have such a resolve in your mind, don't you understand that the other person has the same resolve? It's just weird. This is a weird conversation.
Your brain.
They're always wanting other people to listen to them and have it seep into their brain. They're not willing to have it go both ways. They don't want to listen to anything that you have to say. They're not willing to have anything that you have to say seep into their brain. You know, I would still advocate, I would still try, especially if you personally know somebody who's into fat acceptance. I would really try the best I could. I know if my mom was like fat acceptance, I would probably have a shouting match with her. I'm not even kidding. It's deadly. It's a deadly ideology. It's serious. But that's me. I'm a little cray-cray. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just don't play with this. I just don't. As long as you're working at it, it could take years, and I understand that. It's a years-long process. But as long as you're trying to get better, you're not going to get my wrath. But if you're like, if you start with the weight is 70% genetic, remember, even if I don't have the witch hat on, the witch is still there. And the witch will not put up with that crap.
Into your frontal lobe, into the parts of yourself that can think critically. And that's something you and only you can do. So allow yourself to think critically and ask yourself, is every fat person lazy? Not taking care of their needs?
Not taking care of their needs, not necessarily, but they at least didn't for a while. That's what you can see in somebody. Lazy, I don't think so. But there are a lot of fat people who are lazy. So it depends. There's a lot of hardworking fat people. There's a lot of lazy fat people. I'd say it's probably around 50-50 in my experience. I don't know if there's that many fat people that are just like super lazy and like don't even have a job or like don't do anything. That's not that common. But it is rare to find like a fat person that's working 2 or 3 jobs, trying to build up a career, trying to launch something, you know, like trying to really like hustle and kind of do stuff. Usually it's just like one job and then you're just like watching the TV for like 8 hours after work. That's more typical. But there are still fat people that do work 2 or 3 jobs and do that stuff. And I would say, oh no, that person's a hard worker. They're just not taking care of their needs. They're not prioritizing their health right now. Or they're in a process where it's going to take years to get out of it, especially from a super morbid place. It often takes years. I know people hate to hear that, but it takes longer. I've shown you guys. It took me, you know, I had to do work before I lost weight. Then when I started the deficit in 2022, it took me until basically almost April. I started August 2022. It took me until late March 2024 to get out of super morbid obesity. From basically April till September, I zoomed through through morbid obesity. It was much easier. I can show you how it was much easier. And from September until now, I've almost gotten out of obesity. I just plateaued. But I was within, 1.2% of being out of obesity, body fat percentage wise. And that's from September till November. It's easier. It's so much easier. You know, I am swollen now, so I don't know. You know, like I said, it might stop for a while, but I was kind of expecting that. But it's like, it's not always going to take that long. So if somebody is just kind of sitting there, like if I was sitting in obesity for years, there is an element of laziness to it, or just a not caring about it. You know, like you have to, I understand that people don't typically see the issue of obesity with the proper like nuance that it's required. It's a difficult issue because it's so individually based, but there's also general trends that we can go by as well. And so it's difficult from an activistic perspective. It really is, because of that, because you have to encounter and interact with so many different nuanced things within it. But she's not really offering any of that. All she's doing is being condescending, and she's getting caught up on the word lazy. I don't necessarily like that laziness is tied to obesity or supermorbid obesity or whatever. It is. I don't think it's necessarily true, but I think it's more so they're tired. You know, even the word, calling a super morbidly obese person lazy, it's kind of discounting the health effects of obesity. It's not, you wouldn't say somebody who's deathly ill is lazy. That person is deathly ill. That's what it is. So I wouldn't prefer to use that word, but like I said, that word can definitely apply to fat people. It can also apply to thin people too. So it is what it is. Um, but yeah, I would use the term deathly ill rather than lazy.
Are there thin people who are lazy and who do not take care of their needs?
There are, but they don't always wear it visually. They might be able to hide it better.
Just like a thought. It's so.
Okay, well, that was pretty simple, wasn't it? I guess I had a lot to say. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. I will see you soon. Bye.